just seeing a lot more of it. The average person's coming across more ridiculousness than ever
People
before.
are starting to question everything.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the education system is not teaching
Well, Matt,
the younger people.
Yes, sir.
you were military, correct?
Yes, sir.
What did you do in the military?
I was jet engine mechanic, so I worked on aircraft.
Okay. So, that's full-on government agency.
Yep.
You had to deal with maybe shipping and receiving some things. Maybe you
yes.
had to order parts or whatever.
Yes.
Did you ever have problems with that or notice, extremely high costs in parts or anything like that?
Oh yes. high cost parts for mediocre refurbished parts.
Okay. That makes sense.
Overpaying.
Yeah. So
The government policy.
yeah.
So when you requisition the part, how did you go about that?
What do you mean?
Order. You know who you order from? Is that what you're saying?
Well, there's a process. He's got to fill out paperwork and present it to, whoever he's got to present it to. They've got to take it and actually make the order.
Right.
Whatever that process is.
About 90% of the time, we already had the parts on hand. They sit in a giant warehouse, so that money just kind of sits there. But there are times where we have to put in a bunch of paperwork, and it goes through a long chain of people in order to get approved, just to get the one part from, who knows where it might be. Could be a third world country for all I know. We have parts made in China. So.
Right, and where I'm going with this is, in that situation, all you're doing is filling out some paperwork and submitting it to your CO or whatever, right?
Yep.
After that, you have no more control over what's going on. So somebody else is dealing with whoever's distributing the parts or whatever,
Right.
So at that point, that's where the money is played with. So
What's another?
the guy that's actually getting the part knows that it only costs $10, but he's putting in the paperwork that it costs $60 or $100,
Right.
and that's where the money's being played with.
Yep. And I agree with you on that one. Hands down, it's a giant money game. Honestly, inside the military, inside the federal government.
Right, and that's not just the military. That's every there's something like 40,000 government agencies in this country, and every one of them is played with like that.
Yep.
But I have a question. We're not.
So for me, just trillions of dollars disappear. It's like, okay, well, that's just what our government does.
But it was 2.3 trillion that disappeared out of the Social Security fund. It was strictly out of Social Security. It just vanished, and somebody was supposed to go, I think, in front of Congress just prior to 9/11 to answer for why it went missing.
And nobody ever asked that question ever again because it was just a mute point and not important compared to what just happened.
And because the Social Security records were all destroyed
Mm-hmm.
on the 74th floor. I wonder what happened in Saudi Arabia then, because that's an interesting. I have a memory. Okay, it was actually close to Easter. I think it was in March, maybe, of 1991. Saddam was kicked out of Kuwait. He retreated, and we're done with Desert Storm. And they, had a pay tent, a finance tent set up,
yeah.
right? You have tents for finance. You have a mess tent, which is a military word for eating or cafeteria. So you have an eating tent. You have a medical tent. That's the one I ran. You got the finance tent over here. That's in the Army. Okay. So then this finance tent, right after we got paid. Okay. So at that time in 1991, we'd get a actual check, a paper check, and then walk over in the pay line at the table. I'm older than you, Matt, so I don't know if you guys do this direct deposit since I left, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm old. I'm an old fogey, right? So hey, tune into Zoom and see how old I am. Anyway, so we would walk to the pay line. So we all got paid just that day, or a couple days after that. We all got paid. So we had cash, and they had all of our checks. The tent burned down. They didn't have any record of who got paid and who didn't get paid. So, of course, the military wants to be efficient. That's their number one thing, efficiency, I'm sure, right? So they paid everybody again. We all got paid twice in my unit.
Who burned the tent down?
Yeah, that way, there's only, I'm not saying, but, I don't have any clues on that one. I don't know who burned that tent down, but it's sure, the timing was sure good.
So somebody figured it out.
Burn down the tent with a bunch of worthless checks, then say, "Well, we don't." Let's see.
Down the house.
That was a good little. I don't know why that, but anyway, yeah. Why did There's a lot of whys. What's the next one?
What's the next why?
Do we have a why in the crowd anywhere? What's the next why?
Well, we were getting to the point of saying that this is a distraction so that Amy isn't confirmed, right?
Right, Supreme Court stuff.
So, I think that's a very good possibility that that's part of it. But I also think it's just another one of her idiotic stunts. She just likes to be up there talking about something,
Well, like the end of the article.
already.
Yeah.
losing her dentures and.
Well, like they said at the end of that article, I think that was the reason I liked that article that I read. The end of that article, it said there's, basically as this person said, they saw it as three ways to look at it. One, if Biden does get elected and they do not follow up on this legislation, then it was just a political stunt. Because they proposed this, the same guy proposed this in 2017 and they weren't interested then. Now they're interested. Hello. What changed? Trump is now going to win re-election. That's what changed. So anyway, if Biden wins and they don't pursue it, that shows it's political. If Biden wins and they do pursue it, then that will show that maybe they were considering the COVID thing a legitimate thing, that maybe they just need to make sure that if they've got somebody in charge and they get sick, they want to have an order of succession, including the vice president's succession. So maybe they're doing the right thing. Okay, don't laugh, people. Don't laugh. Okay, where's the laugh? Because we're all laughing here. But she might be doing it for the right reasons. Get some good legislation in place. They needed it for 50 years. That might be the reason. Okay, that's if Joe Biden wins and they go through with it,
Maybe she's thinking, 47 years, I better do something right?
Yeah, maybe that. Or, of course, what we all thought was if he does get in and they pass this, the reason they passed it was to get rid of him, to have somebody else in there, to, again, possibly have another patsy or another way to get the Speaker of the House, or just to overturn the entire judicial system by what they want to try to do. They want to completely rock the boat because they just can't do anything right against the golden boy.
Well, it's the saddest part about the whole the saddest thing about the whole judicial system is the fact that people are taking their judgments as law, and it's not. Just because there's, a precedent, now it's law. I don't understand why the judges have so much power. It shouldn't.
It's certainly a fine line, because why in the world would we even be asking them those questions? Why are we asking them how they stand on an issue if it's a so-called hot topic / political issue / policy issues that's dividing the country? Why would you ask a judge ahead of time how they're going to vote? Well, that's what they always do. How would you vote on this? And they grill them on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're truly a political person and you just want your party in power, why in the world would you even sit through that? You just got to know how they're going to vote, and you're going to either confirm them if they vote your way or not. That's not what a Supreme Court justice was set out to do. The Supreme Court justice wasn't supposed to even have an opinion. Originally, you weren't supposed to have an opinion.
Right.
Or political affiliation.
And you weren't supposed to think or be,
Pretty sure.
Right. Well, they were still appointed by someone, but yeah.
I mean,
they weren't
everybody
supposed
still
to be
has an
openly
opinion,
political. Right.
but they're supposed
No,
to be
any higher court judge's only obligation is to uphold the Constitution.
That's right.
Any higher court's judge, that's their only goal, is to uphold the Constitution.
Yep. So they're supposed to.
But political bias has seeped in all over the courts, and it's just another battlefield in the same war.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Constitution has become the towel in the middle, and we're all just playing steal the bacon. We're saying, no, this is our Constitution. No, this is our Constitution, and we're ripping it apart in the middle because everybody thinks they're right on the Constitution, and that's what makes it really difficult to argue with somebody because there's no absolute truth. They try to twist, and I say they because, of course, we never twist anything in our minds. But people in general will twist a phrase or something they read or hear or see in the Constitution to possibly mean a different thing. Even though it seems like it to me that it's plain language, it might not seem like it's plain language to Matt, or it might not seem like it's plain language to Valerie or Andy or Waylon or who knows, right? So the Constitution is, in a way, up for judgment. So that's why they have to ask them how they feel ahead of time. I think they shouldn't have those things. I think, are you going to be fair? 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 Yeah, she said fair 50 times. You get the job.
You're going to keep this out of your opinion and look at only the facts. Yeah. That's the kind of questions they should be asking.
But here's the problem, and here's what the biggest one for me, and I think the biggest battle, and this may be our last issue, and we might want to bring this up again later, because this is deep, okay? But I believe the thing that they are most worried about is the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
Yep.
Well, that's what they keep saying, so I got to take them at their word, and I don't understand why they're so worried about it. I don't think it's going to happen, even though it should.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, the reason for Roe v. Wade was Margaret Sanger's idea, decreasing the black population. That's the whole reason for it in the first place.
Yeah, and if you look at the history, way back in the teens, 1913, 1918, somewhere around there, was when they really started this revolution against these lesser people not knowing how to vote. And so we've got to maybe keep them from having so many babies, and discourage them from voting and keep them oppressed. And unfortunately, that's been the attitude. But
nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Like from 1923 or whatever it was when Planned Parenthood got started till today, nothing has changed with that organization.
Nope, they just got more freedom.
Their goal is the same. Their methods are the same. Yeah, you're right. They just have more freedom to do it. So now they're on a grander scale.
Mm-hmm. And the story, Brian, that you told me about the fact that Roe, from Roe v. Wade.
yeah, that's not her name, but yeah.
But the person who signed off on that trial didn't even have an abortion. Didn't want an abortion.
Yeah,
The lawyers used her.
She didn't have an abortion. She had the baby while they were in trial. She put her up for adoption. But she didn't even want the abortion, but two aggressive lawyers talked her into signing a one-page affidavit and agreed to take her case. And after that, she was never consulted and never questioned. It was not her case.
It was the lawyer's case.
It was the lawyer's case, so they fought for the rights, and the lady's name was, not that.
Not that,
it was
but
Mary
yeah.
Ann Conley, I think it was. So then it might not have held water, but it went to the Supreme Court at the same time that another case had gone to the Supreme Court from Texas, ironically, on another question of abortion.